Ever get that feeling like your phone just, I don't know, gets you? Like it knows what you're trying to do even when you can't find the right button.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, today we're going deep into the world of manual software testing to see how those aha moments are designed.
It's kind of amazing, right? I mean, everything's automation these days, but there's something to be said about that human touch, you know, like that gut feeling, that experience that you can't quite put into words.
So no robots taking over the testing lab just yet.
Not a chance.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. What exactly is manual testing?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine there's a real person, just like you, sitting down with a piece of software for the first time. They're clicking around, trying things out, trying to find any little hiccups or confusing parts before it ever gets to you.
So they're not just making sure the buttons work, they're making sure the whole thing makes sense.
Exactly. Think about a time you've used an app or a website where everything just flows.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
You find what you need instantly. You complete your task, buying something, booking a flight, whatever it is, without a second thought.
Smooth sailing.
That's the goal, that smooth, intuitive experience. That's what manual testing is all about.
And this is where those human testers really earn their keep, right? I can't even tell you how many times I've hit a bug and thought, wait, how did the computer miss this? It feels like you need that human eye, that ability to anticipate how, a real person would actually use this thing.
You're preaching to the choir. Automation is fantastic for the big, repetitive stuff, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to the nuances of human behavior.
Yeah, it's a whole other ballgame.
Exactly. Think about all the gestures we use on our phones now. Pinches, swipes, long presses.
It's second nature now.
Try getting a robot to do that consistently.
Right.
You need a human to make sure those gestures are responsive, intuitive, and that you're not accidentally liking every post in your feed just because you swiped the wrong way.
It's like trying to program a robot to navigate a crowded room. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
It needs that sense of, I don't know, spatial awareness, understanding how humans move.
That's a perfect analogy. And it's not just about complex gestures. Imagine building a brand new app. Something totally new.
Okay, yeah.
You're in uncharted territory. You don't even know what you don't know at that stage. That's when you need ad hoc testing.
Ad hoc testing. Fill me in.
Think of it like giving a really skilled explorer a map, but it's got all these blank spaces.
Intriguing.
They're not just following a set path. They're using their instincts, their experience from other expeditions to go off-road.
I like it.
Right, to find those hidden valleys, those unexpected obstacles that no one even knew to put on the map yet.
So these testers are like the Indiana Joneses of the software development world.
Yeah. Always on the lookout for those hidden traps, those how did we not see that coming bugs.
And just like Indiana Jones, they need that sharp eye for detail, the ability to spot a clue that everyone else misses.
You got it. And don't forget the empathy. A good manual tester can put themselves in the user's shoes, really understand their needs and frustrations.
It's like that saying, to understand a man, you must walk a mile in his shoes. Or, in this case, click a mile in their mouse.
Exactly. Can a machine tell if an app sparks joy? Or if it makes you want to chuck your phone across the room? I don't think so. Not yet, at least. Only a human can tell you if an app is a delight to use.
Okay, so we've established that manual testing is like having a crack team of detectives on the case, making sure our digital world is smooth, intuitive, frustration-free. But what tools are in a software detective's arsenal? What are the techniques they use to crack the code, so to speak?
You're getting it. And yeah, just like a detective, manual testers have a whole bunch of tricks up their sleeves, each one designed to uncover different types of problems. And remember how we were talking about ad hoc testing earlier?
Yeah, the Explorer with the map and the blank spaces.
Exactly. That's like giving a detective a fresh case file and saying, all right, go see what you can find. No scripts, no set path. It's all about using your gut, your experience, to uncover those hidden vulnerabilities.
So sticking with our detective analogy, this is like, searching a crime scene for clues. You don't even know what you're looking for yet. You're just looking for anything out of place.
Perfect analogy. Now, imagine our detective has solved the case, right? Culprit's behind bars. But then there's a new twist, something unexpected. They have to go back and make sure their original solution still holds up.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this, though. So that's like regression testing.
Bingo. You make a change to the code, add a new feature, whatever. Regression testing is making sure you didn't accidentally break something else in the process, keeping everything running smoothly.
It's like you fix one thing, you better make double sure you didn't just break 3 more things while you were in there.
You got it. It's all about keeping the user experience consistent and reliable. No one likes those, wait, it worked yesterday moments.
The worst. Okay, so we've got our detectives gathering clues, making sure the house isn't burning down behind them. What other tricks do they have up their sleeves?
Well, we've talked a lot about the technical side of things, but what about the human element?
Right, because building something that works and building something that's enjoyable to use, those are two different things.
100%. And that's where usability testing comes in. How does the software feel to use? Is it intuitive, enjoyable, or is it just clunky and frustrating?
This is where we find out if people actually like using the thing we've built.
You nailed it. And this is where that human perspective is so crucial. I mean, a computer can tell you if a button is clickable,
Sure.
but it can't tell you if it's in the right spot. It can't tell you if the whole flow of the app feels natural, if the design makes sense to an actual human being using it.
So this is where we get real people in a room, put the software in front of them, and see what happens.
Exactly. You watch them use it. Do they get stuck? Do they get frustrated? Do they accidentally click on things they didn't mean to?
It's like that thing they say about good design, right? If you have to explain it, it's not good enough.
Exactly. Good software should be intuitive. It should just make sense.
Okay, so we've got exploratory testing for the deep dives, regression testing for keeping things running, usability testing to make sure humans actually enjoy the experience. Anything else in our detectives toolkit?
One more, and it's a big one. Smoke testing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Smoke testing. Lay it on me.
Imagine our detective has a huge stack of evidence to go through, right? Mountains of paperwork. Before they dive into all that, they need to quickly figure out if there's even anything worth investigating.
Makes sense. Don't want to waste time on a dead end.
Exactly. So smoke testing is that initial check. You run a quick series of tests, hit the high points, just to make sure nothing is totally broken.
So before you start dusting for fingerprints, you make sure there's actually a body in the room.
Haha, exactly. It's about catching those big, obvious errors early on. Saves everyone a lot of headaches down the road.
Smart. So we've got our 4 main techniques: exploratory, regression, usability, and smoke testing. Each one designed to root out a different type of problem. But having the right tools is only half the battle, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, having all the fancy cooking gadgets in the world doesn't make you a chef, right? You got to know what you're doing.
You're telling me manual testing isn't just randomly clicking around hoping something breaks. It's a process. And like any good process, it starts with a plan.
So our detectives aren't just showing up at the crime scene willy-nilly.
Not if they want to solve the case. This is test planning, figuring out what needs to be tested, how you're going to test it, what the goals are.
So before they even step foot on the crime scene, they've got a strategy.
Exactly. They're anticipating challenges, figuring out potential weak points, making sure they've got the right tools for the job. And speaking of tools, this is where test case design comes in.
Okay, break that down for me.
Think of it like a detective documenting every piece of evidence. With test case design, you're creating detailed descriptions of every single test. What steps are you going to take? What should happen? What data are you using? All of it.
So it's not just test the login button, it's try logging in with the wrong password, with the right password, but the wrong username.
Exactly. You're trying to think of every possible scenario, even the weird ones, to make sure the software can handle it.
And then to make sure these tests are realistic, you need the right setting, right?
Exactly. Just like our detective needs to recreate the scene of the crime.
Right. So you're not going to test a mobile app on just the newest phone on the market, are you?
No way. You got to test it on older phones, different operating systems, bad internet connections, you name it.
Got to make sure it works for everyone, everywhere.
Exactly. That's test environment setup. You're creating a controlled environment that mimics the real world as closely as possible.
Makes sense. So we've got the planning, the test cases, the environment. What's next?
Well, no investigation is complete without a report, right? That's where bug reporting comes in.
Time for our detective to present their findings.
Exactly. A good bug report is like a work of art. It's clear, concise, tells the developers exactly what went wrong, how to reproduce it, all of that.
So not just, hey, I found a bug. More like, here's exactly what happened, step by step, and here's how to make it happen again.
You got it. The more information, the better. But even with all the right tools and techniques, manual testing has its challenges.
I bet. What are some of the big ones?
Well, one of the biggest is time. Software is complex, and it's only getting more complex. The more features you add, the more potential problems there are to test for.
So it's a constant race to keep up.
Pretty much. And we can't forget that manual testing is, well, Manual, it's done by humans, and humans make
All right,
mistakes.
perfect.
Exactly. We get tired, we get distracted, sometimes we just miss things.
Plus, some of the stuff can be pretty repetitive, right? Staring at a screen all day, clicking the same buttons over and over.
That's where automation can really help. Take over some of those more tedious tasks, free up the humans to focus on the bigger picture stuff.
So it's not really a question of manual or automated testing, is it? It's about finding the right mix.
Exactly. Use each one where it's strongest.
And I imagine there are some industries where that human touch, that attention to detail, is absolutely critical.
Oh, absolutely. Think about things like healthcare, finance, transportation. Software bugs in those fields can have real-world consequences.
Okay, so let's dive into that a bit. Can you give us a concrete example of how manual testing has made a real difference in a high-stakes industry?
Sure. Let's talk about healthcare. A while back, a team of manual testers was working on a new electronic health record system.
Those systems are critical. They hold all of a patient's medical information.
Exactly. So these testers knew the stakes were high. They spent weeks testing everything they could think of, and they found something.
Uh-oh. What was it?
A potentially dangerous flaw in the medication reconciliation process. Basically, when a patient was transferred between departments or discharged, there was a chance that certain medications wouldn't be properly accounted for.
Wow, that's scary. That could have had serious consequences.
Absolutely. But because of those manual testers, the problem was caught and fixed before it ever reached a real patient.
That's a testament to how important this work is.
It really is.
So as we wrap up here, what's the key takeaway you want our listeners to remember about manual testing?
Remember that behind every app you use, every website you visit, there's a team of dedicated people working hard to make sure your experience is as smooth and enjoyable as possible. They might not be the ones writing the code, but they play a vital role in making sure that code actually works for real people in the real world.
So next time your banking app doesn't crash, or you actually enjoy using that new website, give a little mental shout out to all the manual testers out there, keeping the digital world running smoothly. And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of manual software testing. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, and maybe, just maybe, gained a new appreciation for the human side of technology. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.